So, I'm at 69 kills, as you saw. That's not what I wanted to talk about today. I want to talk about a movie I just watched. It's called The Invite. I just watched it maybe a couple hours ago, and pretty solid movie. Was going into it not expecting much, but I actually thought it was pretty good. Very enjoyable movie. It had a bit of a mature subject matter. Well, at least compared to what the, usual stuff that you see. It's very reminiscent of The Drama, if you've ever watched that film. It also came out this year. And yeah, to be honest, how the heck did the Marth just kill himself? Okay, to be honest, yeah, it's just a lot different than what I was expecting. So, first off, before I get into it, spoilers, because I feel like it's really hard to get into a movie without spoiling it. And I just gotta say that in case people wanted to, watch it. I suggest you watch it. I think it's pretty good. It's actually not even that long of a film. It's only about hour 40. Hour 40 is what it did. Ooh, I went deep for that kill. Hour 40, and it's a comedy. It's a drama. Shout out The Drama, which it reminded me of, and it's about a very complicated married relationship. We follow Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde as they kind of traverse through I want to say broken marriage. They argue all the time. Seth Rogen isn't happy with his life. Olivia Wilde is kind of a stay-at-home mom who doesn't really have anything else to do except work on the home, which Seth Rogen, it's kind of like the home is kind of a central point of the movie, okay? We're in the home for the entirety of the film, okay? The setting of this movie is literally just the home, okay? And the home is kind of symbolic in a way because it represents two sides, right? Olivia Wilde, who's literally just in this home for her entirety, and it's kind of like her own identity at this point, while Seth Rogen kind of just hates it because it's not it's not a home, sorry, it's an apartment. And Seth Rogen doesn't really like this apartment because we learn that in the movie it was inherited by his parents, and he feels like a failure because he isn't able to do his passion to the fullest. Like he's a teacher. He does music classes, like he's a teacher teaching music, but he started a band when he was in school, and like when he was in high school, and it didn't take off. And he has so much resentment towards that because he feels like a failure, like I said. And there's a lot of conflict between the two of them because of these two focal points. One being, Seth Rogen, he can't be happy with his life even though he has so much, and Olivia likes to reiterate that throughout the entire film, that why are you so miserable? We kind of get that at the end there, and it's just like Seth can't really handle that, even though he has a lot of things. He has his wife, he has his kid, he has a kid, they have a kid together, and the kid is also kind of like their bonding point. They're not bonding, but it's like their glue, right? Because they're together. They even say it in the movie that they're still together because of the kid. And even though it's not been working out, like they talk about, like, oh, they haven't been having sex, they've been arguing, blah 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 blah. The kid is still there, and we get to the final scene where she talks about, are they happier? What's better for the kid? For them for the kid to live their whole life with two parents that are constantly, in distastefulness and in hatred for one another, or would they be much happier with two parents who are happier on their separate lives, even though they are separated? That's a very good question. It's a very good question. And what I like about this movie is that it's not so direct, right? We don't go into the relation, we don't go into that I'm kind of spoiling the end. That was kind of the end there, like that, you know, like the focal point of the film is actually catered towards their relationship, how it's been broken, how it's, you know, we get a lot of build up for the tension and whatever, and it's the use of comedy, is use of you know, funny dialogue, you know, makes the entire movie interesting, so it keeps you engaged about, you know, these two and their relationship. But the reason why it's so different is because you actually don't think this is the point of the movie, because the entire plot stems from the fact that there's these two neighbors that they have, and they're constantly, you know, like it's a big thing because she invited the neighbors, and you know they're like thinking like, oh, they're finally gonna, you know, talk to them, have a good time, and on one hand we have Seth, who's just like hating this idea. And then, you know, like, Olivia is just, like, so livid because she's just happy to have, you know, something new in her life. Because with Seth, it's just, like, boring and kind of a mess. Well, not a mess, but it's just, like, you know, depressing, basically. So, you know, she, like, invited these people over, and then she didn't even tell Seth that it was actually just because she was like, it's been happening for months. She's, like, telling him, like, it's such a good thing, but he's really not for it. He just wants to be in his studio and smoke weed. But you know, she's like trying to play it like it's a big event, even though they literally just came up with the plan in the morning and just built so much tension, all this stuff, non-communicating to different. Again, they use this ploy of the neighbors as a way to introduce the complicated relationship they have. But we all think that the plot itself is literally just about the neighbors. We're like, oh, why are the neighbors? First of all, why are they so important? Why do they care about the neighbors so much? What did they do? And then we find out like, oh, the neighbors, well, they're causing a noise complaint because they have too much sex. And well, the sex is loud and it wakes them up at night. And Olivia doesn't want to bring it up because she wants to be nice. She wants to be not rude to the guests. But then Seth is like, no, I really want to bring it up. Like, I really want to fucking tell these guys to please shut the fuck up. You know, we got a kid, and then blah, 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 blah. And again, it's just another comedic device to get in tune with the characters, the relationship. And then at one point they reveal the big thing, which is actually it wasn't them having sex, it was actually a group of people having sex, group sex, which is the craziest thing. And then yeah, sex. Again, it's just funny because that's not actually the point of the film. That's why I'm not like talking about it as much. It was just more of a device to introduce how complicated their relationship is, how broken it is, because then they start thinking like, oh, yeah, we can do, like, they invite them to have, you know, group sex, and then they're like, yeah, we could do it, even though at the end of the day they couldn't go through with it because they're so broken, they don't even know how to have sex anymore, blah 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 blah. There is no explicit content, by the way, so you can watch it. They just talk about the act of sexual intercourse, not actually doing it. But ooh, what a snipe. But overall, just a good film in terms of its dialogue. It's very engaging, like I said, great acting. And it's a good A24 film. A lot of people love the movie. That's the reason why I watched it, is because of the reception. And I got recommended the film to me by my coworker. So shout out Frankie the Goat. He's my film guy. But yeah, like overall, it was a well-received film. I understand the joy and the hype around it because I don't think it's a bad movie. But I'll be completely honest and say that overall, like, it's a good film. It kind of reminds me of Marriage Story a bit. If you've ever watched that film with Adam Driver and what's her name, ScarJo. You know, like, it's a good. That's a good film about divorce too. But that one is more like a broader. Oh crap! That movie is more like a broader take on divorce itself, while this movie is more about a broken marriage relationship that could lead to divorce. We don't know yet. It seems like at the end of the film that it's leading towards a divorce. I like to think that they have a divorce at the end, and they have like a cute little moment together where they kind of rekindle for a bit, but I think in the end they have to hash it out and just cut it off. Or maybe, you know, like you like to think, you could also think that the ending is actually them getting together and fixing it. But I like to, you know, there's a couple interpretations. But, you know, with Marriage Story, again, I think that movie talks about divorce, and first of all, the acting in that movie is phenomenal. Like, there's a reason why those two got nominated. And I did enjoy Marriage Story more than I did like this movie, but this movie gives me little bits and reminiscence of Marriage Story, which I do really like. But my problem is with a movie like this, okay, is that because it's just dialogue, you're just with the four characters. There really isn't else much to the movie besides that. And again, a good movie doesn't need to have theatrics. It can just be, you know, acting, screenplay, writing, you know, and not, you know, there isn't much cinematography. The setting is very, again, grounded. There's not much to it. But there are some cool shots, there are some cool scenes, but there isn't really anything that's like, wow, I'm out of my seat, like theatrical stuff. Like, you're really just there for the acting and the script. So if you're not really into that, if you're, you know, if you're not really big on dialogue heavy film, I wouldn't really, you know, recommend this movie to you. I don't think you would enjoy it, especially if the subject matter isn't like that interesting to you, or it doesn't you can't relate to. Because again, for me personally, I cannot relate to the subject. I'm not married. I don't have, you know, relationship problems. Sure as hell don't have marriage problems. So again, I can't relate to the movie. And, you know, for me, like a movie like Marriage Story, I could really connect to that movie even without me being, you know, divorced. Like, I could feel the impact, I could understand it. Whereas here, I'm getting a good story. I get I understand the, you know, I understand it, but it's just like I don't feel like on a personal level, I don't really feel connected to the film. I don't really feel connected to the, you know, the premise, but I can still enjoy it and appreciate what, you know, the story is about and what it's, you know, what the subject matter is. So for me, I wouldn't give this movie higher than an 8 out of 10. Just because, again, there isn't really like anything that spectacular about this film that I really liked. Again, the acting, everyone loves the acting. I love the acting, it's great. But to me, everything else, like, if there was something more, I would say so. It kind of has like the problem that I kind of has the problem that the drama had. Like, I had the same sort of complaint that I wish there was like something a bit more to the movie, but still overall an enjoyable film. I get the, I understand the love for the film. I understand the ratings for the film. Me personally, I wouldn't rate it that high, but 8, still a good score for me. 4 stars, 8 out of 10. The Invite, you know, let me know if y'all watched it, enjoyed it, and yeah, pretty good film. Shout out Seth Rogen. He just reminds me of Donkey Kong every time I look at him, and Edward Norton is Fight Club, man. Fight Club.